A salt white moon leaned low like a lantern hung on a nail in the night, and the mesa breathed that old blue hush where coyotes tune their bite. My boots kept time with gravel thoughts, prayers choked dry with sand, as I trailed a shadow with my name across this empty land. She was the kind who could tame a colt with sugar and a song, but even gentle hands can slip when the winds of pride blow strong. I sold my word for whiskey once, lost the deed to my own skin. Now the only map I trust is a scar that points me home again. They say the desert keeps its books, tallies debts in stone, each rib of canyon ledger marks for the wrong we've sown. Stars like spurs on heaven's boot, jangling sharp and cold, while the past drags chains behind old tales I never told. I found her ribbon on a mesquite limb, the color of midnight rain, a sign she'd ridden hard and far, outrunning what we ain't. I saddled up a borrowed hope, a bay with a lighting brand, and promised the wind I'd fix my life or make my last stand. Dust on the moonlit mesa, cover my tracks, don't tell. Carry these sins like saddlebags to the rim of a silver well. If love is a stray Mustang, I'll whisper soft and wait. Dust on the moonlit mesa, open the canyon gate. Midnight coffee from a tin cup, bitter as a judge. I warmed my hands on ghostly fire and felt the earth begrudge. Saw wagon bones half buried, bleached like the truth I hide. Heard owl feathers fan the dark where conscience likes to ride. I'd left her at a station sign with promises like smoke. Said I'd buy a ranch in spring, then springtime never spoke. Gambling hands and cattle drives, a saloon with jealous light. My letters never made the train, I let the ink turn night. I found the river talking low, like preachers at a wake. It mirrored one unshaven fool with more to give than take. I washed my face in moonlight, nicked my cheek on time, and vowed to trade my outlaw grin for one good uphill climb. The thunderheads were hobbled far, electric on the plain. Lightning stitched the sky with wires, spelling out her name. I heard her mare in chapel wind, that breath I used to know, and pushed my bay to prayerful oak, afraid and needing slow. Dust on the moonlit mesa, cover my tracks, don't tell. Carry these sins like saddlebags to the rim of a silver well. If love is a stray Mustang, I'll whisper soft and wait. Dust on the moonlit mesa, open the canyon gate. I'd trade my Spurs for Sabbath bells, my deck of cards for songs. Lay every lie on altar steps and fill the cracks with alms. Let the sheriff keep his iron star, I'll take the iron nail. I'll hang my hat on mercy's hook where second chances dwell. If she is there beyond the rise with eyes like pardoned rain, I'll kneel and let the mesquite thorn tattoo me clean of shame. Dust on the moonlit mesa, hush the hoofbeats of my past. Let the rivers sign our names in silt and make the healing last. If love is a stray Mustang, I'll whistle still and straight. Dust on the moonlit mesa, open the canyon gate and let her ride me home through early lights estate. I cinched a saddle of sins and silver on a horse with flaming eyes, where the prairie meets a painted sky and the truth stops telling lies. Buckle clack like courtroom doors, stirrups chime like corns. Every step a testimony stitched in rawhide joints. I wore a vest of poker smoke, a grin of kerosene, set fire to bridges just to watch how far they lean. Yet somewhere in that drifting ash I kept a sainted thread, a locket shaped like Sunday light, the color of what she said. Town to town I chased the sound of hammers, nails, and law. Sheriffs grow like tumbleweed when summer dries the draw. But the preacher's daughter, Ellie Mae, had eyes like Sabbath wheat. She'd brush my cheek with hymns and dust and make the devil beat. She told me boys can build or burn, the West don't care which hand, and pressed a psalm against my ribs until I learned to stand. I promised her a steady fence, a ford that never breaks, but promises are skittish things and flee at rattlesnakes. Saddle of sins and silver, gleaming under sun, carry me over the badland ridge to where my word can run. If courage is a branding iron, then mark me straight and true. Saddle of sins and silver, I'm riding home to you. Railroad road and iron lines across my borrowed fate. Telegraph wire sizzled news of one more last mistake. I'd held a royal flush of pride in Doc Monroe's saloon, but lost it to a widow's glance that looked like high noon. Her husband left a ledger thin as rain on canyon walls. She asked for help, I dealt her dead in streaks and whiskey draws. Ellie heard the gossip first, the hurt behind her prayer. I felt the cinch by deeper grief braiding through my hair. I rode out past the county line talk with mesquite truth, cut across in Calicure dirt and knelt like borrowed youth. Coyotes sang a hallelujah, rough and razor clean. I answered with a broken hymn I hadn't used since 19. I pulled the locket from my vest and kissed the sainted thread. Imagined Ellie's kitchen light and bread she'd always spread. A man can choose the spur he wears, the trail he calls his own, but he can't outrun a woman's tears that sound like going home. Saddle of sins and silver, gleaming under sun, carry me over the Badland Ridge to where my word can run. If courage is a brand and iron, then mark me straight and true. Saddle of sins and silver, I'm riding home to you. There's a chapel built of prairie wind with rafters made of stars, where baritone confessions rise and hang like lantern scars. I'll nail my spurs above the door and set my deck to flame. I'll melt this silver into rings and call it Ellie's name. Let mercy be the farrier's hand that shoes my stumbling soul. Let love be water on the forge, a hiss that makes me whole. Saddle of sins and silver, I'm lighter than before. I traded luck for labor, pride for knocking on your door. If courage is a brand in iron, then mark me straight and true. Saddle of sins and silver, I'm riding home to you. Riding home to bread and light, to Ellie's wheat field view. Windmill blades go creak, 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 carving circles in the sky, like a bartender turning time and topping off my wine. The trough is full of moonlight, the tank holds whispers thin. I pass the bottle left to right and let the prairie spin. We branded calves by lantern glow and sang to soothe the dark. Stories stitched from rowdy truth, from bullock scratch to lark. I used to be a tumble suit, joker up the sleeve, but now I'm just a quiet man with reasons not to leave. Her laugh was like a Spurs bright ring on oiled cedar floors, her temper like a summer storm that breaks a ranch's chores. She made a quilt from shirts I wore, each patch a trail I ran. Said, you're a country highway love, but I'll be your one plan. I left one dawn for Abilene, cattle dust in prayer. Swore I'd sell the herd and hurry home before the fair. But poker nights grow fangs and teeth, Whiskey oil's the deal, and I let the devil cut me in for one more lucky field. Whiskey on the Windmill Road, keep your secrets low. Turn those blades like rosary beads and let my penance flow. If love's a bunkhouse lantern, don't let it flicker cold. Whiskey on the Windmill Road, I got a heart to hold. The sheriff wrote my name in chalk on Doc Monroe's back wall. Said I'd leaned too hard on luck and owed the county hall. I paid in cattle, paid in sweat, paid in miles and bone. Still the balance rang like dinner bells on nights I rode alone. Then word came down the telegraph, fire at our place. Lightning took the hayloft roof and kissed her freckled face. She lived, thank God, with eyebrows singed, the laugh that turned to ash. But she needed fences mended fast and money without flash. I sold the spur with silver star, the watch my father wore. Kept only one small pocket note, come home, no keeping score. The windmill kept on creak, 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 preaching second chance. I sobered on its sermon song and found my sober stance. We hammered posts through Kalechi hard, bled blisters into dawn. She tied her hair with twine and straw, said, boy, we carry on. I poured the rest of whiskey out like rain on kitchen stone. She smiled and set a coffee cup where my regrets had grown. Whiskey on the Windmill Road, keep your secrets low. Turn those blades like rosary beads and let my penance flow. If love's a bunkhouse lantern, don't let it flicker cold. Whiskey on the Windmill Road, I got a heart to hold. There's a ledger in the water tank where shadows red and white. Forgiveness tallies, plus and minus adds a human life. I won't go back to Abilene to chase a smoky wind. I'd rather mend the north line fence and learn to lose my sin. The windmill sings a lullaby, a squeak that sounds like grace. And she in flower-dusted hands makes shelter of this place. Whiskey on the Windmill Road, you turn me toward the day. Blades that cut the night to strips, then let the sunrise stay. If love's a bunkhouse lantern, it's steady, brave and bold. Whiskey on the Windmill Road, I've got a heart to hold. And I'm home I showed up late with dust on my knees, hat in a trembling hand. The choir was warming up a hymn that smelled like summer rain and land. There by the back row, quiet as dusk on a fence post, Friday night I set my spurs in a church pew and tried to learn what mercy writes. I dragged a trail of busted cards, saloon smoke in my hair, a wanted note with my crooked name tacked up in every square. But a woman with a wheat field smile at once believed I'd stay, and every Sunday bell she rang kept calling me God's way. There's a scar across my knuckles where the past still shakes its chain, and a knot inside my saddlebag that smells like guilt and rain. I heard the preacher mention wolves who wander in from cold. He said the Lord will count the lambs and trade their fear for gold. I stared down at the floorboards, at scuffs like wayward stars, and wondered if forgiveness fits a life with so many bars. The wood was worn by father's hands, by mama's prayers and tears, by boots that learned to kneel before they walked into their years. Spurs in a church pew, ringing when I breathe. Let the hymn undo the knots a lonesome rider weaves. If heaven has a lariat, throw it straight and true. Spurs in a church pew, I'm roped and coming through. A baby cried 2 rows ahead, a ranch hand bowed his head. The widow Price held on to hope like reins of linen thread. The stained glass made a canyon blaze with saints in desert light. A steer of pride kicked hard inside my rib cage through the right. I thought about the nights I played with sin like poker chips, how whiskey made my promises slide off my stubborn lips. But then I felt her hand in mine, the wheat-field woman's grace. She squeezed the story out of me without one public trace. We'd buried dreams in caliche soil and dug them up again. We'd watched a storm convert our fear to rivers on the plain. She whispered, boy, you ain't a fence, you're wind and bone and sky. But even wind can bow enough to let the rain pass by. The preacher called for altar steps, for hands to find a road. My spurs chimed like a supper bell when cattle stand for gold. I walked as if a Colt inside was learning how to trust. I felt the pew release my weight and turn old shame to dust. Spurs in a church pew, ringing when I breathe. Let the hymn undo the knots a lonesome rider weaves. If heaven has a lariat, throw it straight and true. Spurs in a church pew, I'm roped and coming through. I set my hat upon my deck for psalms adorn my smoke for chapel air. I traded wild for faithful, fear for one good steady prayer. If lawmen read the news of me, let them read this part. I stabled up my outlaw grin and fed my famished heart. Spurs in a church pew, I'm learning how to stand, with mercy as my saddle and her wheat field in my hand. If heaven keeps a brand and fire, mark me brave and true. Spurs in a church pew, I'm roped and coming through. And if I fall, let Sunday bells ring me back to you.
They stapled up my tilted grin on every cottonwood. A wanted poster flapping like a barn door never stood. The ink ran down like summer sweat along the paper grain, while over at the mercantile she tried on lace and rain. I watched the town through mirror glass, half lawman, half a ghost. A man who kept one hand on flight and one on what he'd lost. She held a ring so simple, like a sunrise with no boast. Said you can't ride two trails forever, love. Choose one you most.
The dead-end road of outlaw shine had dusted up my soul. I'd gambled cattle hours, youth, and still was never whole. But she had hands that cured the land, could coax a seed to sing. She said a promise is a fence, a vow a steady spring.
Oh, the wind played sheriff with my hat, the poster slapped its plea. A boy ran by and read my name, then pointed straight at me. I tipped my brim and smiled small, my shadow split in two. One side wanted midnight trails, the other church house pews. Wanted posters and wedding rings, 2 notices of fate. One with nails and counting, one with grace at the gate. If love can pardon, sign my name in gold, it never fades. Wanted posters and wedding rings, I'll choose the vows we made.
Rail his badge a tarnished sun. He said, I've chased 100 men and never caught the one. The one who haunts himself at night, who hears a woman cry, who learns that running loses more than staying ever buys.
He handed me a folded note, her script like Wren song air. I don't need silver palaces, just you to show up there. Bring home your hat, your foolish grin, your ache, your busted past. We'll mend what's torn with needle talk and coffee that can last. I turned and saw her in the glass, the dress like rain-washed wheat, her eyes a wildfire tender, burning everything but sweet. The bells from Mrs. Avery's shop rang out like chapel chimes.
spurs and step in beating time.
I walked into the open square and let the poster hang. I placed my hands where hands belong when honest hearts must stand. The sheriff tipped his brim at me and chose to see me new. Said some pursuits end better when the man decides what's true. Wanted posters and wedding rings, 2 notices of fate, one with nails and county ink, one with grace at the gate. If love can pardon, sign my name in gold that never fades. Wanted posters and wedding rings, I'll choose the vows we made. We scribbled vows like cattle brands into the breathing hide of time that waits for rain and work an evening side by side. I pledged to mend the north line fence, to fix the kitchen door, to keep my boots by our bedpost and gamble nevermore. Wanted posters and wedding rings, I crossed the dusty floor, laid down my outlaw silhouette and took up something more. If love can pardon, mark this town the witness that it brings. Wanted posters and wedding rings, I'll choose the vows and wings. I'll choose the home where supper light makes honest men and kings.
I rode where canyon walls can hear what men won't say in town, where secrets skip like river stones and finally settle down. I tied my reins to cottonwood and let the bay horse drink, then told the cliffs the catalog of every scar and kink. The wind translated pride to dust, turned swagger into sand, and every boast I'd polished dull blew clean from idle hands. I thought of cards and narrow winds, of nights I didn't call, of faces I won't see again since watching fortunes fall. There's something in a canyon sigh that kneels a stubborn knee, that chisels lies to honest rock and sets a sinner free. I said her name and watched it climb from shadow into glow, like morning finding juniper and making needles show. I own the fact I lied to her when cattle work ran long. I own the bar, the neighbor's smile, the whiskey weak and wrong. I said the word I'm sorry to the stone that shoulders light, and swore to carry water home and let the ledger write. Canyon echo confession, take my voice and send it far, bounce it off the ages till it sounds like what we are. If truth can be a river, let it carve a gentler line. Canyon echo confession, make her mercy. scripture on the air, a lizard blinked amen. A cloud laid shade like chaplain hands on wild and wilder men. I took my hat and set it down, a circle cut from sky, and stood inside that borrowed blue to let my old self die. I promised fences, promised bread, promised fixing worse than wood, promised to show up dirty, tired, and stubborn for her good. I told the canyon I would fail, then try and fail again. But failing with my hands in hers beats winning with a sin. By dusk the echoes softened up like blankets after chores, a hush that lets a wearied team stretch long and not be sore. I gathered reins and mounted slow, the bay's ears twitched at peace. We took the trail the moonlight rode, a tender silver lease. Each hoofbeat stamped a prayer in dust, each breath a lighter load. I felt the canyon keep my word and send me to her road. The first lamp in the valley winked, forgiven as a friend. I heard her porch step creak a note that means come in and mend. Canyon echo, confession, take my voice and send it far. Bounce it off the ages till it sounds like what we are. If truth can be a river, let it carve a gentler line. Canyon echo, confession, make her mercy mine. Stone remembers winter rains and summer's iron glare, the way it shelters swallowed nests and keeps a secret prayer. Teach me, canyon, to be strong without a need to shout, to hold and shape and weather on till grace can find me out. Canyon echo, confession, I'm heading home at last. Let the moon revise my future, let the wind erase the past. If truth can be a river, let it water weed and vine. Canyon echo, confession, make her mercy mine. And brand me with tomorrow where her porch light shines. Down on the border of luck and law, where the river keeps it safe, there's a street where lanterns hang like saints guiding stray.
Found the last lamp in Laredo, licking shadows off the door. A yellow eye that never sleeps, riders need a shore. She worked the counter, wiping rings from glasses, tin and warm. Her hair a braid of midnight tales from late and early morn. She knew the names of muleskin men, of captains, cooks, and kings. She knew the weight of silence and the price of shiny things. I told her of my crooked trail, my near and double cross, how fortune left me holding dust and counting up the loss. She poured a coffee dark as dusk and slid it down like grace. Said some men come to buy a light, and some to buy a place. A card sharp tried to deal me in, the devil cut the deck. But she tapped the lamp and shook her head and saved my foolish neck. We trade in sunrises here, she said, not sunset suicides. If you can carry morning home, you're welcome for the ride. The last lamp in Laredo, burning steady, burning true. A harbor for a dusty heart that's learning what to do. If night is full of broken roads and promises that sting, last lamp in Laredo, I'll take the dawn you bring. A marshal's boots clicked slow outside the street, took one long breath. He wore the weather on his face and patience like a wreath. He nodded toward my empty hands, my hat brim low with thought. Said, son, a man who chooses light is one that can't be bought. We watched the shadow sailors drift from table up to door. The lamp kept licking night away, same way as times before. I asked her what had made her stay in such a weathered town. She said, my mother lit this lamp when drought near burned us down. She taught me how a flame can mean more than the matches say, how it can loan a mile of hope when hope has lost its way. She trimmed the wick with scissor hands, a surgeon of the dark, and set a saucer under dreams to catch their falling sparks. By 2 a.m. the songbirds stirred in trees along the square. The river took a deeper tone, confessing what it bears. I paid in bills and gratitude and asked if I might bring a window for her counter view, a small and living thing.
The last lamp in Laredo, burning steady, burning true, a harbor for a dusty heart that's learning what to do. If night is full of broken roads and promises that sting, the last lamp in Laredo, I'll take the dawn you bring. Carried morning in a crate, 2 panes of simple glass. We set it near the lamp so dawn could double as it passed. Now riders see the sunrise twice, and maybe so do I. One in the window's honest frame, one in a woman's eye. The last lamp in Laredo, I'll guard you when I can. We'll trade in sunrises and bread and the work of steady hands. If night is full of broken roads and promises that sting, the last lamp in Laredo, I'll take the dawn you bring and ride it home like scripture through the gates of spring.
They say a pale cold runs at night where Abilene turns gray, a whisper of a bloodline lost that never learned to stay. White as creek bed moonlight, slick as winter rain, it gallops through the wheat stubble and won't be caught by pain. Old-timers tell the story low in bunkhouse after chores about a stampede in a lightning squall and open breaking doors. A mare went down, a colt ran free, the sky took on a sheen, and every man who chased that ghost came back a shade more clean. First time that I saw it, I'd been gambling with my breath. Oh, the kind of quiet money that invites a certain death. The cold cut through the alleyway, a whistle made of light. My debts looked small beside the thing that didn't belong tonight. I followed hooves that made no sound, a rhythm in my bones. It led me to a cemetery fence of tilted, nameless stones. I saw my father's weathered hat in memory's dark ravine. He taught me, son, the gentlest hands can halter what's unseen. Ghost Colt of Abilene, run me toward what's right. Teach my fear to turn its head and face a cleaner night. If grace can wear a mane of frost,
too tight. They wanted all the air I had, they wanted out my light. But when that Colt flashed alley white, their faces broke like glass. Some swore they saw their mother's hand, some heard a preacher pass. I used the shiver in the street to slip the knot of wrong. I ran where hooves leave no real mark but make a spirit strong. The Colt took me beyond the yards to Prairie faint with dew, where dawn unrolled a tablecloth and set the world anew. I thought about the lives I'd spent like coins on crooked hands, how much I owed a kitchen chair, a fence, a patch of land. I reached to touch a mane of light that flickered in the day. My fingers met a breeze that smelled like forgiveness hay. The Colt stood still as prayer stands still before it moves to work. And for a breath I knew the truth that outlaws always shirk, that some things can't be owned or roped or traded in a scheme, that some are meant to show us home by running through a dream. Ghost Colt of Abilene, run me toward what's right. Teach my fear to turn its head and face a cleaner night. If grace can wear a mane of frost and eyes that never mean, I'll ride beside your thunder, Ghost Colt of Abilene. Shadow soft and pale with vows I will not break. If I forget the bunkhouse law that keeps a man sincere, stamp once beside my window and I'll listen clear. Ghost Colt of Abilene, the sun has found my face. I'll pay what needs the paying and trade my luck for grace. If grace can wear a mane of frost and eyes that never mean, I'll ride beside your thunder, Ghost Colt of Abilene, and trot back home a humble hand in morning's tangerine.
Out where cactus blooms like fire against a turquoise sky, a girl in calico rides past with a ribbon left tonight. Her bonnet's tied with prairie wind, her skirt with needle thread. She's patched more quilts than I've told lies, and both keep folks in bed. She waves to drovers hauling steers, the stagecoach dust that sings. She mends the town with needlework while I'm in broken strings. I've trailed the Rio Grande for gold and lost it in the sand, but Cactus and Calico remind me where I stand. The general store keeps gossip sweet, the cafe brews it strong. Her hands can fold a Sunday hymn right into Saturday wrong. She called me cheating once with luck at cards I played in vain. She sewed my shirt back up with thread and patched the shame with plain. Her eyes are desert wells of light, her voice a cotton hymn. She hums while stitching brand new hope in cloth both worn and thin. I've drunk from cactus water, sharp but pure as dawn. She pours her tea the same exact way, steady, kind, and drawn. Cactus and calico, tough and tender twine. One grows spines to guard itself, the other weaves a line. If love can bloom in dryland soil, then let this desert know I'll live on cactus and calico, where her soft winds blow. A cowboy's life is leather tough, it cracks before it bends. But every rope needs hands to coil and every trail needs ends. She tells me don't you chase the storm, it'll find you soon enough. Stay here and help me plant some seed and learn what's more than rough. So I put down the gambler's dice and picked up hammer plow. I traded whiskey's fleeting glow for bread that lasts somehow. At night she lays her calico against my weary side. The cactus outside guards our home with blossoms open wide. We've seen the dry years strip the land, the locust clouds arrive. We've seen the rivers trickle down till cattle scarce survive. But still she sets the table neat with wildflowers in a jar and says the Lord can mend the drought, the same as healed your scar. I kiss her hands, the needle marks the callus from the field. She smiles and pulls the curtain close, the stars our ceiling shield. If cactus blooms at midnight and calico can pray, then surely I've been given grace to ride another day. Cactus and calico, tough and tender twine. One grows spines to guard itself, the other weaves a line. If love can bloom in dryland soil, then let this desert know I live on cactus and calico, where her soft winds blow. The desert doesn't offer much, just tests of bone and breath. But calico makes cactus bloom and love outlast the death. When sun beats down and shadows hide, she makes the table bright. She sews the day together, then lays it down at night. Cactus and calico, I'll never ride away. The spines and cloth together make a place where I can stay. If love can bloom in dryland soil, then let this desert know I live on cactus and calico, where her soft winds blow.
I kept a book of borrowed stars, a ledger bound in dust, each page a date of heists and trails of friends I couldn't trust. I called it my Outlaw's Almanac, a farmer's book turned wild, where rainfall meant escape routes and moonlight marked the child. Each margin held the county's due, the sheriff's on my tail. Each note a reminder when the train ran late from rail. But in the back was one small page untouched by a crooked hand. It bore the name of a woman true and one fine wedding band. I used the almanac to read
The seasons like a code, which towns had barns with horses fast, which rivers could be rowed. But every plan grew thinner when her voice cut through the dark. She said, a man who measures sin will find its missing spark. You count your schemes in columns neat, but never tally cost. You think a win is stealing gold, but what about what's lost? Her words turned ink to water, smudged the lines I drew. The almanac grew heavy with the weight of what was true. The Outlaw's almanac, pages worn in black, told me where the moonlight rose and where I lost my track. But love can write a chapter and mercy fills the lack. The Outlaw's almanac, I'll never take it back. One night in Dodge I lost a hand. The sheriff nearly won, but thunder rolled and rains came down. The ledger turned to run. I hid beneath the barn eave while my almanac got soaked. The ink bled out like guilty blood, the spine near split and broke. I thought of her still stitching hope with hands of holy thread, while I sat clutching paper bones of lives I should have led. I tore the final page away, the one that bore her name, and held it to my chest like brands that cattlemen call claim. By dawn the book was ruined, a wash of gray and blur, the outlaw's future drowned in rain. No trail to hide or spur, but somehow I felt lighter, like cattle off the drive, like leaving dust and thunder and being still alive. I rode back toward her window lamp, my saddle wet but new. I carried not an almanac, but promises in view. The sheriff never chased me there, he knew the line was drawn. A man who keeps no outlaw book is one already gone. The Outlaw's almanac, pages worn in black, told me where the moonlight rose and where I lost my track. But love can write a chapter and mercy fills the lack. The Outlaw's almanac, I'll never take it back. There's calendars for planting seed and logs for setting posts, but some men learn the seasons best when counting what they've lost. I burned the ruined cover, let the smoke draw up a sign that I'd be writing days in bread, not ink, and borrowed time. The Outlaw's almanac, I left it in the rain. Now I'll mark the mornings by the smell of coffee plain. If love can write a chapter, then bind it with her hand. The Outlaw's almanac, I'll follow what he planned.
sky rolled black from Frio town, a blue norther on its way. It howled across Bandera hills and made the daylight stray. I held the reins of shivering Mare, the fence line nearly broke. Each cedar groaned a psalm of fear, each lantern choked in smoke. The storm had carried winter teeth, though autumn barely slept. It carved a scar through ranch land wide where hidden truths are kept. She stood upon the porch rail, her shawl a flag of white. Said Bandera's seen 100 storms come in and stay the night. I'd ridden trails with thunderheads, but never felt this cold. It clawed the marrow from my bones and made the young feel old. We shuttered every window latch, we braced the door with chairs. We fed the fire with cedar logs and whispered half our prayers. The cattle bawled like orphan youth, the roof near tore away. The blue norther whipped like judgment that won't delay its say. I thought of every word I'd said, each promise I had burned. The storm became a courtroom where my outlaw soul was turned. Blue norther over Bandera, strike me if you must. Blow the sins out of my lungs, grind pride into dust. If mercy rides the lightning, then send it to my hand. Blue norther over Bandera, cleanse this broken land. By morning half the fence is gone, the river swelled and moaned. The cottonwoods were stripped of bark, the pasture horses roamed. But she was there with lantern lit, her shawl still white and true. She handed me a cup of heat and said the sky forgave you too. I sipped and felt the storm recede like fever from the brow. I heard the rooster claim the sun and let me breathe somehow. We walked the pasture side by side, repairing what we could. Each post we set a prayer of thanks, each nail a sign of good. I never feared a lawman's badge nor bullet on the trail, but mercy in a storm wind taught me where my courage fails. It isn't in the killing shots, it isn't in the lies. It's in the chance to stand again beneath forgiving skies. Blue norther over Bandera, strike me if you must. Blow the sins out of my lungs, grind pride into dust. If mercy rides the lightning, then send it to my hand. Blue norther over Bandera, cleanse this broken land. The clouds can carry judgment, the winds can scream regret, but when the morning finds us whole, the past can be reset. I'll ride no longer from myself, I'll face the storms ahead. For even blue northern fury bows to mercy where she's led. Blue norther over Bandera, I'll wear your mark with grace. Your thunder carved the cleaner man, that morning on her face. If mercy rides the lightning, then send it to my head. gym clock ticked a nervous hymn as the sun fell out of sight. Cards slapped down like pistol shots and lamps were lit for night. The dealer's eyes like canyon cracks, the pot grew tall with fear. My hand was heavy with the truth, my bluff rang loud and clear. She watched me from the stairwell rail, her shawl a hush of blue. I thought of every vow I broke and every vow still do. The sheriff leaned his elbow down, the banker sipped his gin, and I held kings but felt like dust, ashamed of what I'd been. A man can bluff his way through games, through towns, and through a life, but sundown calls his shadow back and sundown calls his wife. The piano man played something slow, a hymn in ragtime shoes. I folded twice, then held once more with nothing left to lose. The banker smiled, the sheriff grinned, the dealer spread his hands, and just like that the cards were done, the night held its commands. Poker face at sundown, the truth laid on the wood. I played my hand with borrowed time, but lost for something good. If mercy counts the winnings, then maybe I have won. Poker face at sundown, my losing hand is done. I pushed the pot of coins and bills toward the banker's side. I kept my hat, my broken pride, no chips for me to hide. But she came down the stair the time, her eyes a steady flame. She said a man who folds at last is one who's learned the game. The sheriff tipped his brim and left, the dealer packed his cards. The piano played a lullaby that softened all the shards. I walked with her into the night, the sundown fading fast. We found the porch light burning bright, a place to rest at last. The poker face I wore so long dissolved in morning's fire. I learned the look of honest men is something to desire. And though I lost the pot that night, I won a clearer view. That sundown deals a closing hand, but love can start anew. Peg is just a metaphor, the stakes a fleeting dream. But losing pride can make a man far richer than it seems. So deal me dawn in coffee steam and work with honest hand. I'll fold the rest, for sundown taught what living truly stands. Poker face at sundown, I let the mask go cold. Now I'll hold her hand at sunrise, worth more than coins or gold. If mercy counts the winnings, then maybe I have won. Poker face at sundown, my losing hand is done. sundown, my losing hand is done.
The prairie hums at midnight, grass like fiddle strings. Coyotes join in chorus where the white horizon rings. I hear a hymn the meadow wrote, a hymn for one lone star. It shines above my weary head, it shines where loved ones are. I settle down beside the fire, I whisper up a tune, I sing to that lonesome star beneath the patient moon. It's heard my prayers through dust and war, through whiskey nights and sin. It's always kept an ear for me when I was broke within. I've seen that star above Dodge Town, above the Rio Grande. I've watched it mark a promised line across this weathered land. It caught my tears in canyon walls, it caught my laugh in rain. It marked the grave of friends I lost, then lifted me again. Some say it's just a ball of fire, a science burning blue, but I say it's the prairie hymn that keeps my spirit true. It never once went out on me, though nights were long and dark. It lit the trail back to her eyes, it left a glowing mark. Some stars sing my heart back home, carry light through endless sky, no matter where I roam. If heaven has a choir seat, then save for me a bar. I'll sing the prairie hymn beneath that lonesome star. Storms roll in with iron hooves and lightning brands the field. That star holds steady undeterred, a lantern not to yield. When lawmen chase with badges cold and rifles at their side, that star reminds me mercy's near, not just a place to hide. She prays for me by lamplight dim, her voice a rising flame. I think that star delivers it, I think it knows my name. I answer back with cowboy song, with verses rough but real. I trust the sky to carry them and let the heavens heal. I'll teach my son that starlight means his granddad's eyes still watch. I'll teach my girl to stitch her dreams with needles made of such. And when I'm gone, that hymn will play a steady saddle tune for every rider in the dark who asks for grace too soon. Prairie hymn for a lonesome star, sing my heart back home, carry light through endless sky, no matter where I roam. If heaven has a choir seat, then save
no steeple high, no organ carved in gold, but grass and wind and starlight write the gospel pure and bold. So let me raise my weary voice until it rides that far. Prairie hymn forever sung beneath the lonesome star. Prairie hymn for a lonesome star, I'll sing it till I rest. Let its lantern carry me from worst into the best. If heaven has a choir seat, then save for me a bar. I'll sing the prairie hymn beneath that lonesome star.
Strung with lantern light, the fiddles tuned to gold. The floor was thick with sawdust soft to catch what boots might hold. The Wranglers came from ranches wide, their spurs a steady song, and every heart was young enough to dance the night long. She wore a dress of faded rose with ribbon at her waist. Her eyes outshone the lantern flames, her laugh a fiddle's grace. I tipped my hat and offered hand, the music caught us both. We spun into a Wrangler's ball where time forgets its oath. I'd ridden months of cattle drives, of rivers mean and wild, but sawdust floors remind a man he's also someone's child. She smiled like prairie after rain, like fence posts set anew, and for a breath I thought the world was simple, whole and true. Kept the frame, and we kept time with heartbeat steps while lantern shadows came. Her shoes were scuffed from kitchen work, but still they glided fine. I thought of promises I'd break if I ignored her shine. Sawdust waltz at the Wranglers' ball, spin me through the night, tie me to the music, strong to laughter. If morning steals the melody, I'll still recall it all. The sawdust waltz at the Wranglers' ball. The sheriff danced with preacher's wife, the ranch hands twirled the maids. The widows found their steps again, the weary found upgrades. I'd never thought a cowboy's life could fit in measured song, but here beneath the rafters old I knew where I belong. I told her of my miles and scars, the fences still to mend. She told me of her kitchen chores, her letters never sent. The fiddler played a softer tune, a hymn disguised in waltz, and both of us grew silent then, our truth without a fault. By midnight we had carved our names in sawdust like a sign. We knew the music couldn't last, but vowed our hands would bind. We kissed beneath the paper star the children cut for lights, and promised to recall this dance through every workday fight. Sawdust waltz at the Wranglers' ball.
fiddles turn to rust, but memory keeps the rhythm true and planted in our trust. So let me hold that faded rose and lead her when I can. Through working storms, through Wranglers' calls, I'll dance it as her man. Sawdust waltz at the Wranglers' ball. I'll hear it till I'm gone. The music stitched into my bones, the love that made me strong. If heaven plays a fiddle tune, then Lord, I beg recall the sawdust waltz at the Wranglers' ball.
Out on the north line fence I worked. The posts were gray with age. The wire sang a bitter song, a rusted, twisted page. But when the night wind stroked those strands, it hummed a lullaby, a barbed wire hymn of loss and hope beneath the prairie sky. I laid my bedroll by the posts, the cattle safe inside. The coyotes answered harmony, their voices cutting wide. And through that wire I thought of her, the woman left behind, whose letters stitched my broken hands, whose words still warm my mind. Barb was like a memory thorn of promises I broke, each twist a knot of foolish pride, each stretch a truth I spoke. I plucked the wire like fiddle strings, it echoed low and true, a song of men who ride too long, forgetting they knew. The moon climbed high, a lantern hung, the fence a hymn book plain. The barbs were notes that bled and shone like stars that carry pain. Yet somehow in that wire's complaint I heard a gentler sound, a lullaby for outlaws lost, a call to turn around. Barbed wire lullaby, sing me into rest, wrap me in your ragged song, a thorn against my chest. If mercy hums in rust and wind, then teach me not to lie. Barbed wire lullaby beneath the prairie sky. I dreamed of fences straight and true, of posts that never lean, of cattle fed and children safe,
of fields both full and green. She rocked a cradle by the fire, she hummed that same refrain. The barbed wire lullaby I heard now softened into plain. By dawn I woke with calloused hands and knew the work ahead. I mended fence with quiet care, each splice a prayer I said. I fixed the brakes, I tightened lines, I sang along the way. And barbed wire turned from curse to friend, from burden into stay. Barbed wire lullaby, sing me into rest. Wrap me in your ragged song, a thorn against my chest. If mercy hums in rust and wind, then teach me not to lie. Barbed wire lullaby beneath the prairie sky. Every fence divides a land, but also guards its heart. And every bar can teach a man the cost of being apart. So let me learn to mend with love, not only wire and plow. Let lullabies replace the barbs that scar my spirit now. Barbed wire lullaby, I'll hum it till I'm gone. A broken rider's weary tune turned into healing song. If mercy hums in rust and wind, then teach me not to lie. Barbed wire, a lullaby beneath the prairie sky.
The telegraph wires sang a hymn as thunder split the west. The poles stood like apostles tall with messages confessed. Each tap of code a prayer in ink, each spark a rider's vow, each storm a judgment over men who live by here and now. I rode along the wire line with lightning at my back, the sky a blacksmith hammering, the anvil sharp and black. The horse beneath me quivered hard, the reins near split with fear, but telegraph wires and thunder wrote the truth so clear. I'd sent a message late one night, a code of shame and need, to tell her that I failed again, to beg she not recede. The operator tapped it out, each dot a tear, each dash, and somewhere in her parlor dim she read my sorry flash. Now thunder answered back with fire, the wires glowed with flame, and I could feel
made. The telegraph wires still wind above, the thunder rolled away. We stood beneath a calmer sky and knew we'd learn to stay. Telegraph wires and thunder, write my sins away. Carry truth on sparks of fire and cleanse this broken clay. If mercy sends a message, let it crack the sky asunder. Telegraph wires and thunder. The sky still holds the scars of bolts, the wires still hum at dusk. But now their tune is steady, true, a promise born of trust. And when the storm returns again, I'll ride without the shame. For telegraph wires and thunder wrote forgiveness in my name. Telegraph wires and thunder, hum me into peace. Carry truth through copper lines until all storms release. If mercy sends a message, let it crack the sky asunder. Telegraph wires and thunder.
Half buried in the desert sand, the bones of stagecoach lie. The wheels are ribs, the frame a spine, beneath a blazing sky. I stumbled on its wreck one dusk, the wind a mournful guide. The ghost of drivers, gamblers, clerks still riding deep inside. The leather seats were torn with time, the brass was green with years. The floorboard told of hurried boots, of laughter, smoke, and tears. A bullet hole through window glass still framed the setting sun. The bones of an old stagecoach whispered tales undone. I sat and heard the silence speak of outlaws and of law, of brides who crossed to find new homes, of soldiers worn and raw. Each nail a memory hammered down, each spoke a spinning wheel, each spring a jolt of destiny no mortal man could feel. I thought about my own worn life, the trails I've burned away, and how one day my bones will mark the journey I portray. Perhaps they'll find my spurs half buried, rusted in the ground, and wonder at the rider lost, the roads he never found. Bones of an old stagecoach whisper in the sand, tell of journeys started bold, of those who never planned. If time can leave a monument to roads both cursed and true, bones of an old stagecoach I'll leave my story to. The desert holds no pity, it strips both bone and steel. It leaves behind what matters most, the shape of how we feel. That stagecoach told me plainly then, your choices leave a mark. What's buried now will one day speak, what's hidden will grow stark. I tip my hat to silent boards, to iron bent and gone. I swore to ride with truer aim, to make my story strong. For someday when my reins go slack and riders find my trail, I hope they say my bones were worth a story they retell. Bones of an old stagecoach whisper in the sand, tell of journeys started bold to those who never planned. If time can leave a monument to roads both cursed and true, bones of an old stagecoach I'll leave my story to. Past is made of broken wheels, of timbers turned to dust, but still it rides the present tense, reminding men of trust. So let my bones be like that coach, a warning and a song, that men can turn their trails around before they ride too long. Bones of an old stagecoach rest beneath the sky, tell the truth of riders lost and those who still must try. If time can leave a monument to roads both cursed and true, bones of an old stagecoach I'll leave my story to.
She was born of thunder hooves, a blood-bay mare so proud. Her coat was red as canyon walls, her neigh a song out loud. I bought her from a drifter lean who claimed she couldn't stay, but when she looked into my eyes I knew she'd show the way. We rode through nights of silver stars, through dawns of copper flame. Her stride as steady as a prayer, her breath a holy name. She carried me through outlaw runs, through lawman's chasing night, and always brought me back again to see the morning light. I brushed her mane with hands still rough from fences torn and burned. I fed her oats and whispered thanks for every trail we turned. She'd nuzzle close when storms drew near, her trust a steady brand. And in her eye I saw the truth that men don't understand, that loyalty is not a thing you buy or steal or claim. It's earned in miles and quiet care and calling out a name. So when the sun came breaking through after a sleepless fight, she'd stand beside beside me, strong and sure, Blood Bay and morning light. Blood Bay, Mare and morning light, ride me through the storm, carry me where mercy waits and love can still be born. If dawn can brand a cowboy true, then mark me in her sight. Blood Bay, Mare and morning light. We faced a river cold and wide, the spring flood raging hard. The sheriff's men were close behind, the bridge had fallen scarred. I whispered, girl, it's you and me. She leapt without a fear. The current pulled, the thunder roared, but still she held me near. We reached the shore with ragged breath, the lawman far away. I kissed her blaze and stroked her neck and thanked the Lord that day. She shook the water from her coat, the sun rose fierce and right, and we were framed in mercy's glow. Blood Bay and morning light. Blood Bay, Mare and morning light, ride me through the storm, carry me where mercy waits and love can still be born. If dawn can brand a cowboy true, then mark me in her sight. Blood Bay, Mare and morning light. One day she'll be too tired to run the canyon road. One day her hooves will slow with years and drop the heavy load. But when that day comes calling, I'll lay her down with song and thank her for the miles she gave for keeping me this long. Blood Bay, Mare and morning light, my partner and my friend, carry me where mercy waits until the very end. If dawn can brand a cowboy true, then mark me in her sight. Blood Bay, Mare and morning light.
I held a tin cup by the fire, coffee black as night. The rim was bent, the handle loose, but still it held me right. I'd begged for mercy many times in chapels, courts, and bars, but mercy found me truest here beneath the prairie stars. Each sip a sermon from the ground, each swallow full of grace. I saw her shadow cross the fire, soft forgiving face. She poured another measure in, she whispered, drink it slow. For mercy's like a tin cup, plain but stronger than you know. I thought of silver chalices in churches far away. I thought of gold I squandered once in card games gone astray. But here a simple battered cup delivered more than gold. It warmed my chest and filled my soul with stories never told. I said my sins are mountain high, my past a rusted chain. She said then drink until you learn that mercy heals the pain. And so I tipped the cup again, the steam a steady hymn, and felt the desert turn to green, forgiveness filling in. 10-cup mercy, humble, strong, poured in night where men go wrong. If grace can fit in battered things, then mercy flies on broken wings. Dawn came soft, the cattle low, the fire turned to ash. She set the cup upon the rail, its surface dull but brash. I carried it through fences old, through rivers deep and wide. It jingled in my saddlebag, a talisman of pride. For every time I doubted worth, I poured a little in, and mercy filled me once again and told me where I'd been. I gave the cup to passing hands, to strangers on the road. They drank and found their voices new, their heavy burdens slow. Now every night I take it out, I set it by the fire. I pour black coffee, whisper thanks, and let my heart aspire to live as simple as the cup, to hold and never break, to carry mercy plain and strong for all our human sake. 10-cup mercy, humble, strong, poured in night where men go wrong. If grace can fit in battered things, then mercy flies on broken wings. It's not the cup that saves a man, but what it carries through. The heat of love, the strength of grace, the chance to be made new. So let me be a vessel too, though battered, bent and worn, and may the mercy poured in me keep others safe and warm. 10-cup mercy, humble, strong, poured in night where men go wrong. If grace can fit in battered things, then mercy flies on broken wings. told me once in town, when I was just a boy, a man's worth measured not in gold, nor cattle, nor employ. It's how his hat sits on his head when he walks into view. If the brim is bent by lies, then all will see it too. I carried hats through dusty years, through poker fights and rain, some brimmed with pride, some stained with guilt, some weighted down with pain. But every time I looked in glass and saw the brim askew, I knew I'd let the crooked road make something false of true. The good hat hangs straight on the wall. When work is said and done, it waits for honest heads to wear beneath the setting sun. It doesn't need a feathered plume nor silver band to shine. It needs a brow that tells the truth, a heart that walks the line. So when I lied to friends or kin, my hat brim always bent. It showed the world the crooked ways of trails where I'd been sent. But when I kept a promise true, when I was just and right, the good hat hung straight on the nail and blessed the porch at night. The good hat hangs straight, no tilt, no shame. It crowns the man who bears his name. Not gold nor guns decide the fate, a cowboy's truth, the good hat straight. I met a woman kind and strong, her eyes a river clear. She said, I'll know you're mine for real when your hat shows no fear. I wore it proud on wedding day, the brim as straight as dawn. The preacher smiled, the crowd stood still, the crooked years were gone. And every day I worked the ranch, I tipped it to the sun. I set it on the wall at night, its shape a battle won. The children saw it hanging there, they knew what it had meant, that truth is not in words we speak, but how our days are spent. The good hat hangs straight, no tilt, no shame. It crowns the man who bears his name. Not gold nor guns decide the fate, a cowboy's truth, the good hat straight. When my last ride is called at dusk and boots are laid away, hang my hat upon the nail, let brim in honor stay, and tell the world that crooked trails